This visit is Donald Trump's second visit to China. The first visit Donald Trump took to People's Republic of China was in 2017. So about that would be in his first term. So about 9 years or almost 10 years since any U.S. president visited China. We know, obviously, from Biden's term of office that the relationship between China and the United States has been very cold. Reason why Biden did not at any point make a visit to China, as well as Xi Jinping, who is Chinese president, did not hasn't visited China in the past 9 years. What I would say about Trump is that he is one who engages, and it doesn't really matter the level of disagreement or the level of chaos that he is dealing with. He is one who likes to talk. And if we do remember very well, Donald Trump met North Korean leader Kim Jong-un 3 times during his presidency, 2017 to 2021. Most notably becoming the first U.S. president to step into North Korea on June 30th, 2019 at the DMZ. So to me, these are very important steps, right? Because I don't like you, because are different, because our policies are different, because our vision of the world is different, does not mean that we cannot engage. That was the policy of Joe Biden. Thank God Joe Biden is gone. I think that is the first point I wanted to make. The second notable visit that Donald Trump has made since during his term was his visit with President Putin, August 15, 2025, where U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin met at a joint base, Elmendorf Richardson in Alaska, to discuss all the ongoing situation in Ukraine. Yes, you would agree with me that nothing really substantial came out from all these visits, but better talking than fighting. I'm sure everyone would agree that we better be talking about our disagreements as opposed to fighting about our disagreements. And I think that's the difference between Donald Trump and most of the leaders that we have in power nowadays. Take France, Emmanuel Macron. Emmanuel Macron has not visited Vladimir Putin, hasn't had a one-on-one with Vladimir Putin since the Ukraine war. That is crazy. There's been 2 prime ministers, if not 3 prime ministers, no, 2, since the Russian-Ukraine war. None of them has visited or met with Vladimir Putin. That is crazy. The European Union, which is an organization that runs Europe, for lack of a better way of putting it, their leaders have refused to meet with anyone that they disagree with. They disagree with Putin, they will not meet with Putin. It's only recently, after Donald Trump came into power, after the Alaska meeting, that European leaders said, okay, well, we can maybe try and find a way to open connections between Europe and the Kremlin. That doesn't make any sense, right? So, in as much as I don't agree with a lot of the things that Trump is doing these days, and if you're following this show, you see very clearly my disagreement. But I will appreciate Trump for putting aside the differences and going out and meeting people and talking about how they could make the world better. Even if at the end of the day he hasn't stopped the Ukraine war, even if at the end of the day he hasn't ended his war against Iran, but at least there's something going on. They are talking, they are negotiating, which is exactly what Trump has gone to do in China. He's gone to China so that they could have a conversation about their differences, and maybe at the end of the day they might not find ways of making that relationship better, but at least they have talked about it. Everybody knows everybody's position. China's position is clear on the American standpoint. The American position is clear on the Chinese. So people know exactly where they stand, and I think that is important, right? So I would applaud Trump for taking the time and going out to meet with Xi Jinping. And again, shame to Emmanuel Macron, shame to the European leaders Shame to anyone in Europe who has decided to not engage, uh, 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 um, who has decided to not engage with Russia or decided to not engage with Iran. I say shame onto them. And kudos to Trump for keeping aside his pride. Trump is a very proud individual, and going out to visit China at this time where he is not exactly winning, it takes a lot for Trump to do this. So it kind of shows the value that Trump places in the relationship between the US and China. These are the two biggest economies. These are, in my opinion, uh, 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 the two big powers that kind of shape and direct the world. In my opinion, we have the American empire that, in my opinion, is dying, and the Chinese empire that is growing to replace. Uh, to me, it makes sense for these two people to talk. How can we, as the two biggest powers in the world, coexist, maybe work together to solve some of the problems that we have in this world? I think that is a good step. People, you could say whatever I want to say about Trump, and I have a lot that I'm going to say about Trump on this show, but I would applaud him for going out to China. I mean, he didn't have to go. The war in Iran isn't going well at all. Some leader would say, I'm not going, I wouldn't go until I can deal with whatever it is happening with Iran. Because again, like in my opinion, Trump goes to China with a weak hand. He goes to China with a weak hand, and this was not his intention. Yeah, that would be my opening comments. We can expatiate and elaborate and disagree, because I know a lot to disagree about today.
I don't know that there's much disagreement there. Well. That's very kind of you. As someone who has been on the other side of the fence, very interesting take, and I really find nothing to disagree with you there. Maybe a few tweakings here and there, but
Mhm.
uh, I'll say that's a very generous interpretation of the stake of this bilateral meeting. And anybody who is has been following world events, it's like that two world powers are meeting. Um, just to add to what you said, I mean, you said many things that the only thing I would disagree with is the pride that you said. Trump is egoistic and very prideful. I mean, a very prideful person would not be meeting with Kim Jong Un. A very prideful person would not be meeting with Russia president and Ukraine president. A very prideful person will not have sent his delegation, multiple delegations to Europe to tell them to improve on their NATO spending. There's this perception that Trump is very prideful and doesn't want to engage. But in my opinion, he's one of the most, and maybe you agree with me, one of the most um, presidents who have engaged opposing parties. I mean, you said, well, that the only person who has gone to North Korea, remember the threat North Korea used to make to the United States, or when Obama was there. In fact, Obama told Trump that North Korea was his main problem. What did Trump do? Trump went to North Korea. Okay, people were talking about China. We talked a lot about China. Um, Trump has, this is his second trip to China. He has said multiple times that he does respect President Xi and they
Mhm.
get well. He has said multiple times that he does respect President Putin and they get
Mhm.
along. So all this to say, I don't see any pride there. He is a very, how would I say, a very flamboyant person, a very outgoing, outspoken. You know what it means. It says what it means and means what it says. It doesn't come out as scripted, as polished politicians. No, it comes out the way he wants it to be. Trump will never be as classic as Obama, but he
Mhm.
is raw, he is direct, he will tweet 20, 10 times a day. He is saying what is on his mind. If he hates you, he hates you. If he likes you, he likes you. Okay, so I'll hardly associate all those traits to someone who's very prideful, someone who's very verbose, someone who's flamboyant, someone who speaks his mind. Sure, but pride, I don't know, and I don't think pride is much of Trump's forte. So that's one of the disagreements that me and you have there. And then another part, just to reiterate some points that you made, I think
Mhm.
he respects people who are respectable. He has said it multiple times. I just talked about Putin, talked about President Xi, talked about other people that who are leading their countries in various ways, and they don't agree on many things. But he respects that these people wield a lot of power over the people that they rule. So you cannot rule in isolation. You have to talk with the people of the opposite side, which is something that a lot of politicians have to learn. You cannot just be in your own bubble and think you own all the truth and everything. Most people think Trump is that way, but if you look carefully, I don't think Trump is that way at all. He realizes the power these other people pose, and he thinks together they can make things happen for their various people, even when they disagree. So that's one thing I'll say for Trump. He does respect people that he disagreed with, people that have significant power on the other side. And then one last thing, just to wrap up and highlight a few things you said there. Trump has no permanent friends and no permanent enemies. If you mess with Trump today, he's gonna come after you. But if you adjust yourself, you're gonna be his best buddy. I mean, you don't have to go very far. Um, there are people who have disagreed with Trump vehemently. He has gone after them. Look, people who were his friends, and then they come and they start to make it personal. He has gone strongly after them. I mean, look at Major Taylor Greene. She was a very strong Trump advocate. You
Mm-hmm.
know, helped a lot in bringing him to the White House. But what did she do? Well, according to Trump, she betrayed him. She wanted him to bend to her demands. And you don't need to just go online and see how he's treating her. Okay, there are people who have look at Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida. People forget how contestful and how harsh words were thrown when they were campaigning for to become the leader of the Republican Party before to run for president. If you can remember, just a few years back, Ron DeSantis and Trump were at each other's throat because they were trying to get the ticket. But they are friends now. They hang out, talk, and there's even talk that they're going to appoint DeSantis because he's almost done his governorship in Florida. They're going to appoint him to a post in Trump administration. So really, if you've been following Trump for the last 10 years, you know that he has no permanent friends. He has no permanent. I mean, just look at the guy who was the president of Syria, was had a bounty from the U.S. government. He's been to the White House. Trump has spoken favorably about him because they tend to agree right now. So those are a few things that I wanted to highlight. Maybe disagree on the pride point, but he
Right.
does these are respectable. He has no permanent friends and he has no permanent enemies.